Hello everyone, my name is Honor Weber and welcome back to Dramatic Reading Week. Today we are going to be reading Batman, Two Faces, and Double Take. So let's get started. Batman, Two Faces, Double Take. And we got the bat symbol. And this epic drawing of Batman. Chapter 1. Two Birds. It was quiet outside the Second National Bank in downtown Gotham City. Most of the local business people had gone home after a long day of work. Scraps of paper blew across the otherwise empty street. It had all the makings of a dull summer evening. Ba-room! Suddenly, the doors of the bank shot off their hinges. They crashed onto the sidewalk below. Smoke spilled out of the entrance into the night's purple sky. Two figures appeared in the doorway. They walked casually down the bank's granite stairs and underneath the lamppost. As the bank's alarm rang in the air, the smoke began to clear. There in the light stood the red-headed Poison Ivy and her villainous partner, Harley Quinn. "Not a bad haul, Red," Harley said. She followed Ivy to their pink convertible parked across the street. Each woman had a duffel bag full of money over her shoulder. I could get used to this." "Well, don't," Poison Ivy said. She threw her bag into the back seat of the car. Several others were already piled inside. "We're just repaying a debt to an old friend. After tonight, we go back to business as usual." "You're the boss," Harley said. Harvey jumped into the passenger seat next to Ivy. She unzipped her bag and pulled out a wad of bills. "But you've got to love the fringe benefits," Harley said. Ivy looked over at Harley and smiled. Harley was quite a spectacle in that clown suit of hers. No matter how hard Poison Ivy tried to stay serious, she couldn't help but return her partner's grin. Harley was certainly crazy, but she never failed to make Poison Ivy laugh. Suddenly, Harley's expression changed to one of pure surprise. Ivy looked over at Harley's hand. It was still clutching the wad of stolen bills, but now there was a thin black cord wrapped around her arm. "Huh?" Harley started to say. Then suddenly something yanked her out of the car. Whoosh! Poison Ivy looked up. Harley was dangling from a lamppost overhead. A little help here," Harley called down to her. Ivy wasn't listening. It was time to make her getaway. Harley was good for a laugh, but stopping to help her wasn't worth getting sent back to prison. Ivy slammed her key into the ignition, and as she was about to turn it, a batarang struck the back of her hand. She turned around in the driver's seat. She didn't see who threw the weapon, but she knew he was there somewhere. Thud! Poison Ivy spun back toward the front of the car and screamed. Batman had found her. The Dark Knight crouched on the hood of the car, his black cape draped across the windshield. Ivy quickly reached over and opened the glove box. As Batman lunged toward to stop her, she pulled out her trusty wrist crossbow. But before she could get a shot off, Batman reached inside the car and grabbed her arm. Poison Ivy thrashed wildly, but Batman was unfazed. "That's enough, Ivy," he said. "Your little crime spree is over." As Poison Ivy squirmed high above her head, Harley was also struggling. The bat rope was tight around Harley's wrist. With her free hand, she reached into her boot and pulled out a small glass vial. Harley smashed the vial against the cord. A bright green liquid poured out. Quickly, the chemical began to eat through the rope. Harley could feel the cord weakening. Harley glanced down at the street below her. "Maybe I should have thought this through a little better," she said to herself. Meanwhile, Batman was reaching into his utility belt. He removed a pair of black, bat-shaped handcuffs and attached one to Ivy's wrist. "Robbing banks isn't like you," Batman said. "What's going on, Isley?" "Don't you dare call me that," Ivy said. "Pamela Isley died years ago. I'm poisoned." Harley Quinn fell to the ground, landing directly on top of Batman. Taken by surprise, Batman fell off the hood of the car. Thud! He hit the street hard, cushioning Harley's fall. "Hiya, Red!" Harley said, landing on top of Batman. "Mind if I drop?" "Don't say it," Ivy interrupted. Poison Ivy turned the key in the ignition. "Just get back in the car, Harley," she said. "Okie dokie," Harley said, leaping into the passenger seat. Batman shook his head and quickly got to his feet. He was too late. Harley and Ivy were already speeding down the block. They were well out of his reach now. Batman smiled. He knew where they were headed next. After all, this was the fourth bank, and the two had robbed tonight. Batman had figured out their pattern. He pressed the button on his utility belt. In an instant, the Batmobile pulled up beside him. The cockpit opened it by itself, and Batman jumped into the driver's seat. As he slammed on the gas pedal, the dashboard TV console turned on. Click! A familiar face appeared on screen. It was Alfred, the longtime butler of Batman's other identity, Bruce Wayne. "I was wondering where you've been, sir," Alfred said. "No time to chat, Alfred," Batman said. "I need to catch up to Harley." "It'll have to wait, I'm afraid," Alfred interrupted. "Or did you forget that you have other plans this evening?" Batman sighed. He had completely forgotten. "The charity ball," he said. "Indeed, Master Bruce," Alfred said. One would wager that the Children's Hospital is just as worthy of a cause as trading punches with any villain." Batman knew Alfred was right. Bruce Wayne had responsibilities too. Batman grunted. It often felt like he was living two lives. It was difficult to balance his responsibilities as Batman with his responsibilities of Bruce Wayne. Screech! The Batmobile's tires squealed as Batman quickly spun the car around. "I'll be right there, Alfred," Batman said, switching off the motor. Then he tapped a another button on the Batmobile's dashboard. Right after I make a quick call, he said to himself. Chapter 2. Split Decision. John Rossetti hadn't been working at his new job for long, so when he heard his boss arguing with someone down the hall, he decided to check in on him. After all, one of his duties was to make sure the boss was always safe. John crept down the dimly lit hallway of the luxury apartment. The two voices grew louder. "Two of everything? That's what I need," said the first voice. The man sounded calm, and John instantly recognized it as his boss's voice. "But it's not enough," said the second voice in an angry growl. "Think about it. Yeah. We got all the obvious things, 2 cars, 2 houses, all of that. But it's not about possessions. They won't help us beat Batman." "I don't understand," said John's boss. John crept closer. He saw the shadowy figure in the dark bedroom of the apartment, but he couldn't see who his boss was arguing with. "No, you obviously don't understand," said the harsh voice, "and that's why we're not complete." "Complete?" asked John's boss. "There's only one of us," said the angry voice. "It doesn't work. We can't win without a partner." A bolt of lightning illuminated the room. John said, momentarily bathed in the light. "A partner?" John's boss used to be a good man. In fact, the newspapers had called him Handsome Harvey once, but that was years ago, before the accident. "That's right," said a voice. "A partner. There has to be 2. Another one just like us." "So the real question is who?" John's boss said. "That's right," said the angry voice. "Who is like us? Who has fortune, fame, and perfect life? Who can we bring down to our level?" As John continued to look into the room, he accidentally pushed the door forward. The door swayed on its hinges and let out a soft creak. John's boss turned around and looked at him. Now his full face could be seen in the moonlight. Half was indeed handsome, but the other side was scarred and greenish blue. It made perfect sense that after his accident, Harvey Dent had renamed himself Two-Face. "Get out of here!" Two-Face growled. John turned and ran back down the hall in a panic. He would never get used to the way his new boss looked. It was like something out of a horror movie. "As we were saying," Two-Face said to himself, "who is Gotham's favorite son? Who do we make like us?" Two-Face smiled. He answered himself in a calm voice. "It's obviously Bruce Wayne. It's obvious. Bruce Wayne." Two-Face took a special coin out of his pocket. He always left important decisions up to chance. Heads or tails, yes or no. He flipped the coin into the air and snatched it quickly with the other hand. When he slapped it down, on the back of his hand. The weird scarred side was facing up. Two-Face's lips curled into a sinister smile. Soon, he thought to himself, Bruce Wayne will come face to face with a side of himself he's never seen.